Mega love, shout out. Mga kaibigan, ako po si Tech Shider. Welcome po sa aking YouTube channel. Narito po akong muli para ibahagi ang mahalagang video ng ating mahal na inang Reynang Helen Abdurajak. Ang ating beloved Queen of Federal Republic of the Philippine Islands at ICJ Sovereign Judge of Sulu and North Borneo. Ang video po ng ating mahal na inang Reynang Helen ay isang documentary para ilahad ang pag-aagawan ng trono sa kapangyarihan. At para malaman po natin ang lahat ng katotohanan kung sino talaga ang karapat dapat maging hari at reyna ng ating bansa, ang paglalahad ng pawang katotohanan ang isang naging misyon ng ating mahal na inang Reynang Helen at mahal na Haring Mamay Abdurajak. Sa naging konspirasya ng mga political claimants at sa kapatid ni Haring Mamay na si aka Alnos. Inilahad ng ating mahal na inang Reynang Helen kung paano ginawa ng mga historian ng kwento para makeably ang katotohanan at isagawan ng mga claimants ang kanilang political drama, kasabwat ang mga matataas na politiko at mga militar, para lamang sa kanilang pansariling interes sa kanilang pamumuno sa gobyerno. Para sa kompletong detalye, ating pong panoorin ang video. Ang video ay pagmamay-ari ng ating mahal na inang Reynang Helen. All credit po sa ating Her Royal Majesty Queen. Ang original video ay inyo pong mapapanood sa kanilang official YouTube channel.
This is Queen Maria Makiling Helen Abdurajak, Panolino Abdurajak, the Queen of the Federal Republic of the Philippine Islands, and the ICJ Sovereign Judge of Sulu in North Borneo. I would like to share to the world the very important issues that had destroyed the universality of the relationship of all the inhabitants all over the world. And this is very crucial for the resolution of the people of Mindanao of Sulu Archipelago. The Game of Thrones is for all contenders, but only one is a winner, and he takes it all. The same principle of the survival of the throne and the lineage for succession oftentimes led to the bloody resolution. But for us, we go for diplomatic means, and this is the subtle approach in making the redemption of the throne in the most civil and appropriate means as protected by the immunities of the treaties. Many palaces got ruined because of greed for power and the constant struggle among the reigning king and queen against the aggression of the outside forces and internal forces that makes the kingdom a prey for the wolves to overrule and dethrone the true blood and constantly put the unlawful blood to dominate the kingdom because of conspiracy and deception. The Game of Thrones is visibly seen on movies, how father favored his successor, and how a successor being killed by the rival brother being favored by the mother. It is the scenario of death among royalties that are being covered by greed and selfish desire due to grandiosity and the prestige of being the kings and queens with all the comfort and lavishness of money, of gold, diamonds that made the king and queen more vain and more the object of business for the selfish, materialistic lifestyle to suit their whims and caprices at the expense of the poor that serves the kingdom. Oftentimes, the king got in trouble because of the queen's selfish motive to control even the governance of the royal empire. However, the worst evil ways that usually happens to the kingdom when the king produced offspring that would contest the legitimacy and fight the throne. But in the case of Lupasug United Kingdom of Sulu and North Borneo, the kingdom got ruined because of the power struggle that led to the killings of the last monarch, Jamalul Kirab II, and put the royal empire into the hands of the wolves that enslaved the sovereign people for almost 500 years and made the entire kingdom as the Game of Thrones. We are not like them. We are what we are for the sake of our new royalties, for the new generation. Imagine that this royal Lupasug United Kingdom of Sulu and North Borneo was once the renowned and revered kingdom of the East during the merchant era. The height of the trading industry of Sulu and North Borneo started in 16th century, but it has prospered when Jamal Kiram II, known as Sahibul Gari Abdurajak of Maimpung Sulu and called Sahibul Ray of Brunei, made the royal empire the richest among the kingdoms of the world. This became the target of the invaders, of the colonizers that had made this kingdom the prey of the greedy conquerors. But our royal bloods resisted anybody who would want to conquer us. They were the fiercest warrior of the East, armed only by bow and arrows and few guns against the sophisticated armaments of the conquerors. There were historical accounts kept in the University of Philippines, but were burned purposely to cover the true lineage and cover the truth and let the lies come out by manipulating the past and the history of Lupasug United Kingdom of Sulu and North Borneo. Historians made their own story to suit the power of conspiracy and the imposition of their chosen lineage to play for their greedy Game of Thrones. No amount of explanations to the world, while Sultan Jamalul Alam, the father of the mother of Raja Muhammad Kumar Mamaya's son Abdurajak, leased North Borneo, now called Sabah, to Baron Gustavo von Overbeck of the British North Borneo Chartered Company with an annual payment of 5,000 USD. The historians did not explain fully well why, and this becomes a shallow basis for the detractors and made this act to ridicule the lineage of the Kingdom of Sulu and North Borneo. Learned men and women of today only stick on what they know and what they have perceived and known about the Tausugs and the Magindanaos as the war freak, the branded killers, kidnappers, and the terrorists of Asia as bombarded by Nilia, by the politicians, and by the elite groups. The Christian leaders vowed to give this impression to the world as part of the cover-ups in finding the truth by inner struggle is by putting to rest the last monarch to his peaceful abode after he got robbed in the broad daylight because of so much trust and confidence to his advisor, Datu Umbra Amil Bangsa, who conspired to the man who was supposedly the defender of the Kingdom of Sulu, attorney Ferdinand E. Marcos, and his friends, Father Antonio Diaz, a.k.a. Severino Santa Romana, and Macleod Tatian Taliano. 99 years of misleading the truth about the plight of the Tausugs and the Magindanaos and the natives, tribals in Mindanao and Sulu. Therefore, Jamalul Alam made the act of leasing to Baron Gustavo von Overbeck as a preventive measures not to let the Spaniards took hold of the northeast coastland and seas, and the act of gratitude in turn to the Sultan gave the title of Raja of Sandakan and gave absolute power over the people of the area. Since this is in Arabic, so the English translation said grant, and for the Tawso called Pacha means lease. This lease money stopped after Jamal II died in 1936. President Quezon refusal to recognize a successor to the Sultanate because of the incompatible to their notion of sovereignty that the Philippine government even wrote the British consul Manila that it had decided not to recognize the continued existence of the Sultanate in this light. The start of the conspiracy is from President Quezon himself. However, in 1937, the trustee and personal advisor of Jamal II assumed into power and took the name Sultan Umbra Amil Bangsa from 1937 to 1950. But he assumed Jamal II name and identity in conspiracy with the U.S. and so with myself. The pictures posted in the lobby of the Office of Muslim Affairs in 2009. Indeed, conspiracy from the government republic of the Philippines started from Quezon and Amil Taifa. In 1939, the young Dayang Piandao Kiram and 8 others filed the case at the native court of the government of North Borneo only on the resumption of payments and reopening of the sovereignty and ownership, but never as heirs and successors because of who they were, and these claimants knew of who they are. That is precisely, we have to overrule them, all of them, and the McCaskey case, because we are the two heirs and successors as direct descendants of the predecessor of law 101. The last treaty signed by Jamal Alam was in July 22, 1878, that it made Spain the protectorate of Sulu according to Tausu version, whereas for the Spaniard it had the sovereignty over Sulu. But the Sultan just let it go because he knew that he would never be placed on the technicality of the meaning of every verbiage in the treaty, and what the Sultan simply relocated himself in Mambun to avoid complications with the Spaniards. The complications of the sovereignty issues got its bigger flaws when Spain and the United States signed the Treaty of Paris in December 10, 1898, when Spain ceded Philippine archipelago to U.S., including Mindanao and Sulu, for $20 million US. That immediately in May 1, 1899, Spaniards left Jolo, and Americans took over. That dismayed the Sultan for not regaining Jolo proper. There was a serious negotiations initiated by the Americans through General Bates to make the Sultan sign the treaty with them. Finally, in August 9, 1899, it was signed by the Sultan Jamal Kiram II, presented the 16-point proposal. The specific proposed strongly were the recognition of the sovereignty of the Sultanate and that the U.S. must not to sell Jolo to any other nation without consulting the Sultan. However, General John C. Bates rejected the 16-point proposal and countered the 15 points which Jamal Kiram II agreed hesitantly but signed. Bates Treaty or Senate Document Number 13656 Congress, First Session, Serial 3851. There is the misunderstanding in this treaty, since according to the Tausu translation, the support, aid, and protection of the Jolo Islands and the archipelago are in the American nation. But for the English version, the United States over the whole archipelago of Hulu and its dependencies is declared and acknowledged the world, and the word sovereignty in the Tausug version was never mentioned. Further, the treaty stated that 1. There must be no interference with religion, social and domestic customs of internal, economic or political affairs of the Moros unless requested to do so. 2. The U.S. would never sell Sulu or any part of it to any nations. The monthly allowance as initiated by the Spaniards of $250 was assumed and continued. 4th, slaves allowed to purchase their freedom. This was obviously the effort of Haji Buto Sultan Amirul Umrah Alfonso to please the American and avoid more conflicting bloody problems. Still, we give him that respect, but the cause and effect of his doings must be fixed and rectified. In November 7, 1900, the U.S. paid another $100,000 to include the land of Sibuto, to Cagayan de Sulu, the southernmost islands of Philippines archipelago, and later Turtle Islands and Taganak, which were originally leased by Jamalul Alam to North Brunei Company in 1763. So since 1900, the drive of the government of the Philippines is to disarm the Moros. The policy of disarmament was implemented by General John Blackjack Pershing that had ended the Battle of Butafu in March 7, 1906. I just hope and pray that the Mananos now will join the fold of true peace, order, economic and defense development, implementation, since the first recorded war between American and Moros was from Pandapatan and Binadayan in Lanao. But obviously the Maranao are the ones who pursuant in the ARMM bloody takeover through the illegal signing of framework agreement and peace accord, which was hastily signed without any diligent consultation of the majority of the inhabitants of Mindanao and Sulu. The policy of disarmament of the MILF, Moro Islamic Liberation Front, is the unfinished mission of General John Blackjack Pershing in 1906 that up to now is the same process of peace talks. I can thereby say that we can never disarm them outwardly, but we can help them lay their guns aside once we give them good economy, sustaining income for their family. This is the principle of food and security. Peace is achievable if we do this unselfishly. The right reaching out to the poor would give an easy approach. In July 4, 1902, President Theodore Roosevelt issued a proclamation in ending the insurrection, but only for Christian front. Whereas the insurrection against the authority and sovereignty of the United States is now at end, and peace is established in all parts of the archipelago, except in the country inhabited by the Moro tribes, to which this proclamation does not apply. In this movement, there is a strategy of divide and conquer, as to the state, the peace hierarchy panel is following this pattern. When they cannot get what they want from the Muslim rebel group, as they branded so, they cross the line to have another issue with the Christian rebels, whom they also package peace negotiations, espousing peace but underneath the enticement to revolt and appear that the government Republic of the Philippines is in control together with Malaysia and America. In June 1, 1903, General Leonard Wood administration of the Moro province, of which Sulu was a part. Taxation started from them, and 2 pesos was very expensive at the time and was very hard for each to pay, and this resentment led to more battles in Butahu and Budbansak massacres by Panglima Hassan. To prevent more bloody occurrence in September 2, 1903, the Moro Province Legislative Council was organized. The severe argumentation of Sultan Jamaludin II to the Moro Province Governor Wood was in March 2, 1904, when the U.S. unilaterally abrogates the Bates Treaty on the premise that the Sultan failed to fix in the end the Moro resistance, which hinders them to implement their colonial powers. Again, they stopped the payments of the Sultan Jamaludin II, which he protested and complained as to why. In April 1904, they have abrogated the Bates Treaty. Kiram II further explained that since the root cause of the province came from the American upon the imposition of taxes that was against the religious practice, and that it was of the dealings of the Sultan as a form of oppression and suppression. Again, the Sultan won that the U.S. Philippine Commission restored the annual payments to the Sultan of Sulu and his advisors in November 12, 1904. The struggle lingered on that in March 5 to 7, 1906, General Wood ordered the killing or capture the savages. The death list of the headlands were 900, 1,000 men and women, only 6 survived. But this act of overkill was recorded since many of the dead got many as 50 gunshots in their bodies. These 2 days massacres at Butahu must remind the thousands of pain and loss, but the worst now is Muslim against Muslim, not colonizers against the tribes, and supported by the colonizers' sympathizers who remain as manipulators inside the office of Malacanang. The main target of the American was to depopulate the Tausug's and replace the Christians. So in 1910, the start of bringing migrants from Cebu of 100 families were brought by General John Persing to settle in Cotabato, Mindanao. And it is the same drive to annihilate the true lineage so as to totally eliminate the basic truth of the true blood of Jamaludin II. After 10 years of disarmament policy, another battle of Budbansak in June 11-16, 1913, General John Persing ordered the attack in June 11, 1913 that killed 2,000, including 196 women and 340 children, were reported by John McLeod, who was then in Manila. The Tausug's would always fight even they knew that they are lack of armaments. They still fight. In August 13, 1913, the Tausug of Talipao municipality fought, and in October 22, 1913, they got defeated by the Americans. Thus, the Americans gained control. In July 24, 1913, U.S. then created the Department of Mindanao and Sulu. As years went on, Sultan Jamaludin II studied the predicament of Sulu and his people. He was so trusty with Haji Buto Dato Amirul Umbra Amil Bangsa that he agreed to sign the March 22, 1915 agreement with General Frank Carpenter, known as Carpenter Agreement, relinquishing his claims of sovereignty and reduce the power to a mere spiritual and religious head of the Moro inhabitants. But he was aware that before he signed the Carpenter Agreement, he knew that he maintained that de jure the de facto sovereignty, and this was recognized by U.S. as being referred to as the government of the Sultan in the base treaty. It is clear and transparent that the Sultan and his people never lost its sovereignty, nor he abdicated or renounced his throne. And this is my fight of redeeming the throne. This is precisely the point why U.S. supported the panicide of the claims of the claimant Sultan of Sulu that reached to 200 plus and that became beneficial to the government of the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, and Singapore as it became the game plan of Malacanang and Malaysia as enjoyed by America, but their game of thrones ended March 22, 2014, then the start of a rule as king and queen of the Supersul United Kingdom of Sulu and North Borneo started in March 23, 2014. In every problem to the past, once we focused on the resolutions we can achieve since we hold the truth. In this, we can truly fix the mistakes of the past regimes and rectify the flaws of the treaties, and we can implement the rectification, rebuilding, and rehabilitations of the sovereign land and its sovereign people with their sovereign royal king and queen. The Carpenter Agreement is resolved and is put at rest when the royalized CJ, headed by HRH Ricky Nathaniel. It was in September 1st, 1913, that the Moro province was abolished and had been replaced by the Department of Mindanao and Sulu, and the military rule ended in December 16, 1913, that officially made Frank Carpenter the civilian governor and Guy N. Roper the governor of Sulu. The quest of supremacy and constant provocations of restlessness and dissatisfaction among the residents of Sulu led to the signing of the petition of the 57 leaders of Sulu in June 9, 1921 that they desired to make Sulu a permanent archipelago as the part of the American territory rather than be incorporated to the Philippines. There was already a strong rally among Muslims in Hulu in petitioning the Governor-General to grant them the separate sovereignty in the event the American withdrawal from Sulu. In February 8, 1935, the drive of the U.S. to adopt the Philippine Constitution by the Constitutional Convention, and there was one man who had a heart for the Muslim. A Christian delegate, Thomas Cavili from Lanao, refused to sign upon seeing the document as discriminatory against the Moro people of Mindanao and Sulu. But there was an antagonism on the part of the Moro people who led the declaration of the Bangsa Moro, also known as the Dansalan Declaration, now called Marawi, signed by 121 datos, which states, "We do not want to be included in the Philippines' independence. For once an independent Philippines is lost, there will be troubles between us and the Christian Filipinos because from the time immemorial, these two people have not lived more harmoniously. It is not proper to have two antagonizing people live together under one flag under the Philippine independence. Should the American people grant the Philippines as independence, the islands of Sulu and Mindanao should not be included in such independence. Our public land must not be given to other people other than the Moros." Since 1916, the mind and soul of Jamalul Kiram II, together with his cousin, Sultan Pandala Pasandanan of Maguindanao, were the preservation of the lands and its sovereign people. That is why he never gave up the throne to the Americans, but only on the political aspect rather, of governance that synchronized to the movement of his father Tunku Abdul Rahman in the preservation, protection, and the projection of time as covered by the agreements and the treaties. This fight was augmented by the House Bill 42 HB-CRTR number 42 signed by Secretary of House of Congress Helen P. in April 28, 1950. And basically I can vouch now that we, the Christian and the Muslim, can coexist in the lands where we are born. This can be blunted as I am both a Christian and a Muslim. And as a native of Mindanao, I am prepared to do this task so that no more bloodshed between the warring tribes. As years go on, the stressful life of the Sultan of Sulu, Jamal II, got heightened since he was uncomfortable with the Americans' manipulations and offerings to persuade him of the merchant trading of gold, pearls, and timbers, and exchanging him a very good life in America. Such mechanics used up to now in all the claimant Sultan Sulu that comes out for them to continue hid the truth about the secret why Sulu and Mindanao never had the peace and order since the time they have illegally incorporated Sulu archipelago to the Philippine Republic. The start of the negotiations for the gold, diamonds, and pearls to be safekept in the trust and confidence of the priest Father Antonio Diaz, whom Sultan Jamal II entrusted the 617,500 metric tons in diamonds that were shipped to Manila to the Central Bank of the Philippines. They promised each other to safeguard the wealth of the Sultanate of Sulu and North Borneo. Father Antonio Diaz later on took the name of Severino Santa Romana and many more aliases to evade the law. Since this is very huge and very critical heritage wealth of the Sultanate of Sulu and North Borneo, the priest sought the expertise of Attorney Ferdinand E. Marcos, who was then rising as promising politician of the new Republic of the Philippines. In all this crusade, and the trustee and advisor, Haji Buto Dato Umbra Amnul Bangsa, was pursuant to this for the transfer of this huge wealth on the premise to safeguard away from the Americans, whose prime motive was to take this wealth. That is the reason the World War I and World War II was mainly expanded to Sulu archipelago by the United States of America. Greed for power and money, plus the good persuasiveness of Haji Buto Dato Umbra Amil Bangsa, that ultimately they succeeded to bring all the wealth as brokered by Macleod Tagliantaliano, and that they have completed the transfer, and in 1935 and onward, they have manipulated the gold bars, even brought to Vatican, Red China, and total of 54 countries. War erupted, the U.S. against the Japanese Imperial Army in July 28, 1914 to November 11, 1918, and another in 1931 to 1945 as World War II. Sultan Jamal II did not want to be part of this war, and he was opposing this war to happen. The cunning way of the advisor Haji Buto Dato Umbra Amil Bangsa saw the avenue to overtake the power and control of the gold bars, the 617,500 metric tons, and the diamonds. So, in June 6, 1936, the delegation of the young Piandao and her husband Haji Buto Dato Umbra Amil Bangsa, with Punjungan and cousins of Sultan, planned the killings of Sultan Jamal II, as I have known, as related to me from the elders, since the Sultan of Sulu was armed with the power, and they poisoned him. They knew that the true blood of Radhaa can evade fire against fire, so they poisoned him. That finally, in June 11, 1936, according to my elder, Sultan Jamalul Kiram II died in Papar, Sabah, Malaysia. He died a painful death, betrayed by his friends and put to death by his own advisors for the motive of taking over the throne. The Game of Thrones started in these precise moments that I know would resolve the saga of the claimant Sultan of Sulu in North Borneo. Right after the death of the Sultan of Sulu, Jamalul Kiram II, Haji Buto Dato Umbra Amil Bangsa rose into power and assumed the throne in 1937 to 1950. In the conspiracy with America, Ramos, Amil Bangsa, Marcos, Tagliantaliano, Antonio Diaz, Severino Santa Romana became the Game of Thrones until October 9, 2013. Since in October 10, 2013, we received as handed to us the Royal ICJ rulings, the redemption of the sovereign land, and all the assets and properties of the Lupasug United Kingdom of Sulu in North Borneo. In July 4, 1946, proclamation of Philippine independence, the start of the Philippine Republic in the Moro land was incorporated against their wishes. This coincided with the Treaty of Manila that made the general relations of U.S. and the Philippine Republic. Philippines Independence Day from 1946 to 1961, the celebration falls every 4th of July. What a marking! I was born in July 3. However, it was President Macapagal made a proclamation number 28 proclaiming in June 12, 1962 as Philippine Independence Day in approved RA number 416, thus remaining July 4 as simply Philippine Republic Day. Find out how these leaders made us as their merciful hands. Sultan Bansa became powerful politicians since he has already taken control of the gold bars of the Philippines and seated on the throne, together with the President Marcos that led to every president as the Sultan and made Gloria as Sultana in their respective years of power as President of the Philippines. And in all this, there is a great access of the American Treasury to the gold bars over the stock of 617,500 metric tons at Central Bank of the Philippines. The House Bill 42 was kept and governed by Sultan Amil Bangsa when he introduced the House Bill calling for the granting and recognition of the independence of the province of Sulu in 1961. As the problems of wars and chaos in Mindanao and Sulu, to the Christian guerrillas, the Hukbalahab in Luzon, the same problems occurred in Borneo and Kalimantan, Bulungan up to Singapore, now Singapore. Tunku Abdul Rahman exerted all his efforts to fix the peace and order in Sabah and Sarawak as well. He designed that the rebel leaders be given a seat to the government for them to come to the law and be one with the society. In 1957, he created the new Malaya called Semenanjung Malaya, now called Malaysia. And he proclaimed the independence August 31, 1957, and he was the brain of the establishment of the United Nations, the International Court of Justice in 1946, and the Organization of Islamic Conference in September 25, 1969. He also established the Associations of South Asia and the prime mover of the Manila Accord in July 31, 1963, Maglindo Agreement in September 16, 1963. He had safeguarded the plight of Sulu and Sabah and Sarawak by silently placing them at the Federation of Malaya, which includes Singapore, but later on they separated because of Marcos and Lee Kuan Yew program on the financial groups. However, the influx of migrants being brought by President Magsaysay in Mindanao alarmed the Moro inhabitants, but the problems came into a bloody scenario in December 1969 to February 1972. The fanatic Christian Ilaga squad, taken from the prison cell in Iloilo, posted as the killing squad to raid the villages of the Moro people. Casualties 2,606 Moros and 1,238 Ilagas, house damages 2,561 houses, and 11 mosques. This became the start of the dispute between the Christians and the Muslims. This is the game of the politicians. We can stop this game and start to coexist in this promised land of Mindanao. The Ilagas are also victims by the military and the government. King Mustafa Harun and Ferdinand Marcos programmed to control the Southeast Asia combined in their power and created military and political propaganda. The worst of all that recorded was in March 17, 1968, the Jabida massacre in the island of Corregidor, killing 28 trainees and 16 of them still missing but presumed dead. The plan to take over Sabah by invasion under the code sign Operation Merdeka. Both Mustafa and Marcos knew that this territory belongs to the Sultan of Sulu and North Borneo, and this dispute is in the hands of the International Court of Justice as placed and protected by Tunku Abdul Rahman. Also, he put his effort and power to the Organization of Islamic Conference that even the Tripoli Agreement and all the peace talks onwards are being simply heard, and no resolutions because of the deed of 1878, Treaty of Paris in 1898, Carpenter Agreement in 1915, and the Magdalindo 1963. And thus only the kings in thousands of the grandson can guide me how to pick up the pieces and put back the missing link of the conspiracies that led to the criminal offense of all the top leaders in the government of Maharlika countries and all its compliance bureaus. After the Jabida massacre, more killings, ambushes in Mindanao. It is also recorded that in October 1971, the Barracudas of Muslims ambushed the Philippine Constabulary, leaving the 17 troops dead out of 22 on patrol. It has been in the immemorial problems of the House of Senate and Congress on how to resolve the insurgency in Mindanao and Sulu as far as Luzon in the same year. The national minorities of the Philippine Senate gave their analysis that it was the lack of insincerity, lack of foresight, and indifference of the Commonwealth government to the embark in the policy of bringing by migrants from Luzon, Visayas, and just simply buying the lands at a very small amount and never to assist the natives to till the land. The migrant settlers even grabbed the lands of the natives of Mindanao and Sulu that up to now is the same modus operandi of the wealthy Christians to forcefully grab the lands or even insinuating the illiterate owners to get it back for them to use by paying only little amounts to the Muslim or the poor illiterate Christians who acquired it. They are victimizing the poor for their vested interests. I am from Mindanao, and I have known the plight of the natives who are helpless, and only tears can be shown from their faces when the powerful politicians simply brought their armies threatened and grabbed the land from the owners. But now, the new trend, the powerful politicians are the allies of the powerful in Malacanang by forcing the people to sell their lands for their propaganda and make it as a sovereign land. What a shallow mind they have. They can never sell the land. The gates of hell got opened when Marcos declared martial law. Moro rebellion escalated and Marcos sent many Philippines constabulary and many young soldiers faced their death in the land of the Moros. The order to put peace and control the land led the generals more power of the devils when they have seen the value of the vast land. The Game of Thrones continued when Marcos and Mustafa conspired in officially launching the Moro National Liberation Front in November 14, 1972. According to the G20 survivors, it is called Mustafa nor loved Ferdinand. Mustafa secured the peace talk Tripoli agreement between Philippines Republic was signed in December 23, 1976. Normiswari recruited more members on the premise of getting back Sabah and making Mindanao and Sulu an independent nation. In March 1, 1977, Marcos made the 13 southern provinces under the provisional autonomous government. The political and military game was the pattern in making peace process in Malacanang, the seat of the most powerful throne of both the conspirators and the claimant Sultan of Sulu and North Borneo. In October 10, 1977, Brigadier General Chudulfo Bautista was assassinated in Patikul Holo by the MNLF commander Usman Sali. This made more painful to the women and young children to the areas when the military became insensible by putting the Muslim in a corral like pigs, and many of their young women got raped just in front of their eyes as a retaliation during martial law. No one was allowed to refuse the military. Every refusal, one bullet straight into the head. That is how brutal martial law up to this time. This has not stopped because the instigator and the mover dictator still holds the power inside Malacanang. Power struggle remains the inner threat of the leadership of Missouri that up to now he is being faced by the dictation of his advisors who are in direct alliance with Malacanang and with the outside supporters. The one securing him and holding him against his will is the 15th Council, led by Yusuf Jikari and Ustaz Jain Jali, as created by BGMA, Bush scenario of conspiracy in the loose group of the CIA that now controls the plight of Mindanao and Sulu, whose direct mandate from Fidel P. Ramos. We were never ruled freely. We are still under the martial law rule. And Malacanang is not free either from the mandate of the American government because of the issue of sovereignty, which we have taken it back October 10, 2013, and officially taken back after March 22, 2014. In December 1977, Ustad Salamat broke away from Normiswari, the leadership, and he created the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. That had been the mission of President Estrada and BGMA of total annihilation because they are the ones that impaved the program of taking over Mindanao and Sulu. But the GRP got more headaches when Ustad Abril Umbracato broke away with the MILF that led to a more concentrated area of battlefield, the oil territory of the Sultan of Maguindanao, of which I am now in control together with the MILF, MNLF, and the BIFF as neutralized by the NLFSP, whom we founded together with Chairman Muhammad Professor Abu Bakar II. When Ninoy Aquino got assassinated in August 21, 1983, Marcos got bombarded by all protesters to evict him from Malacanang Palace and dethroned him from his power, and that was successfully done in February 22, 1986, called Edge of Power. Automatically, Corazon Aquino rose into power, and with him Nilia and Rhadaa, the men who were the allied and trusted confidants of Marcos. Take note, the throne of power of Coli was also blessed by the United States of America. Each president who sits in Malacanang is blessed by America, and the first priority is negotiate with MNLF, who is also their ally. So in September 1986, after 6 months in power, Corazon Aquino visited Miswari at MNLF comes together with Enrile Ramos, Danilo Lim, etc., and simply ignores the MILF. In October 15, 1986, the adoption of the new Philippine constitutions, which had provided regional autonomy for Muslim Mindanao and Cordillera regions. Finally, in 1989, the Congress passed the bill creating autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao, known as ARMM. When Ramos became president again, another form of negotiations with the MNLF, this movement purely talks and talks, but never a resolution, because they knew that they cannot, because they have not brought with them the right persona that the OIC been watching for the Islamic nations to support, that is the true Sultan of Sulu in North Borneo. The Magdaleno countries become so focused in their program in enriching themselves all the more. If there is chaos and disorder in Mindanao and Sulu, the more they enjoy the money and the oil illegally extracted in the territory of Sulu and Sabah archipelago. To be able to suit their Game of Thrones, they even manipulated the UN Manila controlled by Ramos, OIC controlled by Miswari son Abdul Karim in Indonesia, and the ICJ controlled by Tun Mahathir in Malaysia. This is very imminent because even the 911 tragedy was part of the Game of Thrones. How can we even trust the political government of today when they are the ones planning and making strategy in creating terror, made even the Abu Sayyaf as their arm to play the terrorists, yet these men live in comfort and beckon uses a chopper to deliver a Jollibee or San Miguel beer. The severe gunfight of the MILF and the armed forces of the Philippines was in 1997, after which peace agreement was signed by GRP and MNLF through Ramos in September 2, 1996, that packaged Miswari as the governor of the ARMM. The Game of Thrones, divide and conquer, is the pattern of Malacanang and stipulated in the PGMA Bush plan of strategy to implement their takeover of Mindanao and Sulu. The target is to kill the armed group marked up and marked as target by the President of the Philippines. Marcos marked the black shirt, the Barracudas of the Moro, and later the poor MNLF, but Miswari was always at Malacanang Palace. Corazon Aquino, the MILF, Estrada, MILF, whom he ordered the all-out war in March to June of 2000. Many camps got burned and many casualties. Arroyo, the MILF, and the BIFF, Pinoy, Aquino, the selective organized groups, played this game of war in Zamboanga. The MNLF, led by Ustad Malik, with 40 million Mars, Waziran Hulo, but underneath the military players sacrificed their own men just to show off that the rebels killed them. The Game of Thrones has been redeemed, and now you are seated illegally in the throne loaned to you. Return it back before the law shall be forcefully dethroned you. All of you, you have your right, because you are now on the left. Even the left would not let you, because you can no longer coexist with them whom you made as leftists. Where shall you go? This is the question for all of you kings of your own craft, lord of lords of your own business of illegal trade. Bow low and be one with the truth. Justice shall be served, and no one is above the law. The throne of Prophet Muhammad of pure gold is still below the chamber of Malacanang. Open now. Thank you, and congratulations. At least this will give you the basis that it is over.
You have heard my recording. As I told you, it is not an easy mission. I have already exerted all our effort. That is why I told you that the Bangsamoro, the journal, is here with me. The Bangsamoro is illegal and unconstitutional. I have warned you a long time ago, and I had been communicating with the office of the president, and I have been sending to you all my emissaries. But sad to say, all those people that I have sent, you are good because you paid them back. Now again, you spend a lot of money to have this thing again after the framework signing in October 15, 2012. Now you spend quite a lot again, 10 million pesos, trying to bring to Manila all these people, of which you are liable because right from the start, your movement is illegal and is unconstitutional and therefore against the law. I am so happy now because the Sultan of Brunei finally saw the truth has already sent to him, and he knows that we have the ICJ ruling. As Raja Mamay said in his video, which is also to be incorporated, that he is the grandson. What you are trying to tell to the world now is simply gaining the control against the sovereign territory of the Royal Imperial Lupasug United Kingdom of Sulu in North Borneo. In 2009, October, I received a call from my friend who happens to be the team of Hillary Clinton. He knows that I married the true Sultan of Sulu, that I am the legitimate wife. With me is Sultan Turun Lawan Dumaga, Sharif Usman Ismail Ali is a bloodline of Tun Mustafa Harun, and the High Court of Sabah knows that he is the guy who has been being sought by the court. Now all of you can just see, I have already reported since 2010 to Sabah High Court, they knew that I had been doing the most dangerous game in Mindanao, even inside the war zone, just to stop the war. That recording that I have is posted in the Facebook because the Game of Thrones became the pattern of war. As you can see, The crown of the Sultanate of Sulu and North Borneo is kept in Buckingham. That is why Her Excellency, Our Majesty, Lola, Queen Elizabeth II knows the truth. She was crowned here in Sabah in April 22, 1953, and then later on in England. She knows that. The scepter is kept in Vatican. That's why I know that the Pope would one day come to Sabah because he is also part of this mission. The throne is kept in Brunei. That is why everybody is trying to bombard us in the Facebook that we have to go to Brunei if we are really the blood. Yes, of course, we are the blood. And Raja Saleha Sultana is the daughter of Jamalul Kiram II. You cannot deny that because she is the blood and she is the Raja of Brunei. Now, my beloved Arlene Recto, people will confuse your mind. People will attack you because they are, what they say, more intelligent because they hold the research on their hand. Woe to them. They have destroyed the history of the Royal Imperial Lucas United Kingdom of Sulu in North Borneo. I have even written to Wikipedia and they told me that I have the right to correct what has been written in all this publicly. That means they hired professionals to keep the secret of the Philippines. Now, I know that everybody would like to come and run after me because I was pursuing to shed out the truth. Now, all of you, the blood of Raja Mamay, especially Modzoy Lailtan, you are a blood somehow, but you are listening. You are my blood because I adopted you as the blood, as you have called Raja Mamay, I am your friend. But Raja Mamay is telling me he is not your blood. As you know, you have left a trail in my Facebook. And this is very bad of you if you will continue conspiring with Rudin Hood, conspiring with the blood that has destroyed the law of succession. Now the blood of the Isnani of Abdul Ghani, I am sorry to tell you, because it is part of my research and my fight to shell out the truth, and your names are part in the High Court because I have to fight for legitimacy. Why Tun Mustafa Harun was able to secure the documents that he used to be in power, and why up to now the blood of Tun Mustafa claimed Sabah together with the Punjungan sons, together with the politicians, Safi Abdal, because they have acquired within them the lost and found documents found in Simbolan, wherein it is administered by Datu Alonto Musahari, who in turn give it to many people that became a claimant sultan that also been used by the Sabah government. I am now reminding you, Al-Nasser Al-Nas bin Abdul Gabbar, stop now because I have already seen all the vital documentations, especially when you destroyed Raja Mamay in many ways, in many aspects, by conspiring the claimant sultan. That is why they didn't know that I am here, because Raja Mamay is married to me, and my job is to bring him out as the grandson of Tunku Abdurrahman. Arlene, you cannot find in the Wikipedia the secret of why they have manipulated the history. It is already given to us, the secret, from Bengal consultation, April 10. It is all in my Facebook, and that is the one that is being held by the Royal ICJ, and all the secret in Buckingham, in Brunei, in the Sabah archives, in all of this are already material, because I was able to pick up the missing link and put the puzzle together. Now, I told you, pork barrel comes from the Sultan's money. You know that pretty well. Who is Dato Amil Bangsa, and who are the finance group being utilized to release the funds? It is over. Your time ended in September 16, 2013, and officially in March 22, 2014. I have laid down the saga of the crusade at the same time of why you had been killing the lineage of the Magindanaos, of the Tausugs, because of the oil field. The oil field now is controlled by the people of Maguindanao, the Sultan of Maguindanao, Sultan Kayulawan Pandala Pasandalan. You are my brother. I have entrusted to you the peace and order of Ligwas and Mars. Whoever enters into that, arrest them, because they have no more authority. Even Murad has no right. That is why they are called illegal claimers of the oil field in conspiracy with the government of the Philippines, as brokered by Malaysia. I am now in control, because all of this is entrusted to me by our forefathers and by the living witnesses that are now being given to the world to save the lineage of the royal bloods of Sulu and North Borneo. Now, I thereby say, do your job, no matter how you distort the truth. It is over. I have reached to the top level of negotiations despite of your blockages, but now I am going to be your blocker, because I do not want you to be killing my poor people in Mindanao and Sulu up to Sabah. I ask you now to unite. Tomorrow is the birthday of our appointed Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of the Philippines, Jose Enrico. Please lead the flock towards peace, defense, economic development, and for the prosperity of the land of promise. Take good care of the tribals. Take good care of the combatants that had been entrusted to you, because on the Muslim side, I have already fixed. The one to be fixed on the part of the Christian that has abused their power are from the office of the president to the barangay captains. You are the Christian denominations to partner with us from the tribal and to the Islamic people that had already made our peace, unification, and we want the implementation of the peace and order, economic development, which we have endorsed to the Royal ICJ, Ricky Nathaniel. And I warned those people that destroy Ricky Nathaniel You do not know him. In 1986, I was with the people of the finance group, top level from different countries. Why they are trying to get to HRH Ricky Nathaniel? Why many finance group wanted to be accredited or to be inside the team of HRH Ricky Nathaniel? Because he is chosen to lead the entire financial groups all over the globe. And he is with me and with Raja Mamay. So us with the Raja Malaka, whom you destroy morally and spiritually. All of you young men and women destroying us in the Facebook. Your mind, your intellectual capacity is just on this level. You have not seen the power of God vested in us, the power of Allah. Why even in death we fight to stop the war. You have not recognized him because you are greedy, you are mean, you are unkind, and you have a venomous tongue to destroy us. Jim Sarto, June Duque died because he wanted to bring you to the right path. But because of your alliance to Miriam Kiram, what happened now is a history that led to the killings in Zamboanga, in Sulu, in Leguasan, Mars. I have all the records to prove. That's why I asked Rodi, Dato Rudy Lamco, and Arlene to file a case against you. Because you have maliciously destroyed me to all those that trusted you. This space is a budol-budol gang. That's what you said. I used every cent that is in me for the mission. And those that attack me, that I am getting the money of the poor, you are all wrong. I have my people from other countries who help me. Those who get money to the poor are Pavilion, Gaira, Kauyag, Alonto Dukol, Ustads Ali, Baikan Rajaboyan, Farida Amino, Dani Makalaw, Bapa Sumimba, Jonathan Pina de Lumawan. All of you will pay the crime for selling me to the framework agreement. Why? And why Lola Dear died? Because she knows that she cannot anymore support you to bring you to Malacanang and use her for your own advantage. And she knows, and she called me, that Queen, you are indeed the Queen, and retrieve the documents of Lazaro Timanay to Edita Ibarita and Attorney Tugadi, because that belongs to you. Woe to you, those people that used the documents of the stolen documents of the Sultan of Sulu for your own satisfaction. It is all in your hands. Stop now, because nothing is going to be free when the law is enforced into you. Professor Muhammad Abu Bakar, I instructed you, since Chairman Professor Miswari and Ustaz Murad defied my order, then it is time. They have defied the entire people of Mindanao. They have put us into the grave for conspiring to other countries, for selling us. Your Excellency, Gloria Arroyo, you challenged me that if I could fight the McCaskey case, I win. Now I tell you, I won. And I know you are in trouble. But being the blood, it is time for you to leave a legacy. Speak out now. The Malampaya is in your hands, but that is for the people, not for Malacanang, not for Pinoy, not for Cojuangco, and not for Najib and Malaysia. I have already designed the Royal ICJ, and it is to be implemented. Those that have turned against me, those that have destroyed me publicly, Pavilion, my brother, Corminal died. They have the reason to die because they have to help me. You did not know how painful it is for me to find the truth. Now, you should imagine now the painful process of trying to embrace you all, despite of the moments that you have placed me in the killing fields. A bullet is already there, but I hang on to God. I hang on to Allah because I know I will win. Now, the last battle is the redemption of the throne. Give back the throne of the grandchildren of Prophet Muhammad, because the throne of the Christian is with the Vatican. All of you, top leaders of the world, unite and give the world the peace that is needed. Embrace one another now, before it is too late. I know that all of you have the heart for the poor, as I am for the poor. Every penny that I had, I used it for my mission.
Mega love shoutout po sa lahat ng mga nagkokomento ng positibo. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagsubaybay. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagmamahal at pagsuporta sa ating mahal na Haring Roger Mamay. At sa ating mahal na inang Reynang Helen Abdurajak Elizabeth III. Please like the video to support, at inyong i-share sa inyong social media communities. At kindly subscribe kung kayo po ay bago sa aking YouTube channel. God bless.